Lesson 21. Matter and its relation to spirit. There is always a moment in life when we differentiate between the material and the spiritual. It happens in a variety of ways. Thomas dropped the false belief immediately when he saw the truth. Material beliefs dropped entirely away and never ruled him afterwards. Pilate knew when face to face with Christ that he could never touch the real life, although he delivered Jesus over to the people. He had seen the eternal Christ when alone with him. The whole of truth is beyond your present comprehension. No man can touch truth or stay the new vision now opening up to the eyes of men. One of the great hindrances to understanding is fast slipping away. The old belief in the solidity of matter. There is no such thing as solidity in or on the planet. The instant you cease to be vibratory, your body would disintegrate and fly off the planet. Spirit is substance and is not subservient to natural law. Perpetual motion is the key to the attraction of atoms. The whole planetary system is a vortex of convolutions, orderly and continuous. True, man's material body is formed of the dust of the earth, though with eternal wisdom and harmonious wholeness. Your body holds, in its material form, an infinitesimal atom or grain of every part of the globe. You cannot behold anything in that material world of which you are not a part. You are a part of the three kingdoms, mineral, vegetable, and animal. Thus man in the natural world has rule over all. This is not so of any other earth life, as each animal is distinctly and only an animal, but man is a process of the ages has come up through all, and he may possess and have rule over them. You are not matter, you cannot become material, and you must not be deceived by material appearances. Although the value of matter in relation to your spiritual evolution is very great, yet I would have you know that spiritual laws are supreme. Your body should be perfect, for is it not a magnificent vehicle for the spiritual form? While in the flesh, you learn to use spiritual weapons. When you enter the interior and spiritual world, you will know that faith was made real to you. While in the flesh, you should reach out for that which is beyond the visible. Faith, the strongest principle, is made your own by your simple trust, though you knew nothing of the reality. Oh, the greatness of faith, the power and might of it. Have faith. Not only by it can you rise to spiritual heights, and your earth experience is the best, nay, the only means of revealing you to yourself. Have faith in God, faith in man, faith in all good. We on this side, in very truth, have found that faith can remove mountains. It is literally true that the whole landscape before your eyes can be obliterated by faith. This is a law. I will explain. You see now only in part the things before you. Houses, churches, etc., are the outcome of man's limited thought. He has been dimly working out a spiritual idea. The spiritual idea is the only fact, and not the bricks and mortar. There is really only the spiritual conception of a home, a church, a road, and with the eye of faith you could see the real only. For I assure you again that the spiritual is the only real. In many instances, the real is utterly unlike the appearance. It is so much more beautiful, for man is always working out the idea of God. Now you have this understanding. You can sympathize with an artist who said, "This building or picture is only the faintest conception of my idea." If he could only have the eye of faith, he would see before him the complete spiritual thought expressed, and he would be overcome with gladness and delight. Thus at present you see through a glass darkly, every reaching beyond the seen and felt, that you may unfold the spiritual perception through mist and cloud, ever cheered by the hope of realization. It is a wonderful time for you now. You are growing wings and preparing a spiritual body for its real existence. Now, for your body, I would have you use the eye of faith, that you may bring into operation the higher spiritual law. Your thought and idea become an outward manifestation. You become your own idea, but remember, it is you yourselves who open to the higher laws. It is for you to say, "They will be done in me." It is no longer for the senses, but for Christ in you, to will and to do. Creation is God manifest in the flesh. God is with you. Lesson 22. My thoughts are towards you. Suppose if people only knew the true value of thought, they would be amazed to find that every thought is as powerful as a deed, and in many cases far more effective than any word or weapon. Yes, it is your innermost and highest thought that makes you, always remembering that thought is the consciousness of the absolute will. You are judged by what you are, and not by what you seem to be. The judgment bar is the innermost of yourself. It is the judgment bar of God. And when our actions are tested there, the voice will cast into outer darkness that which is not of itself. Thank God you may enrich the kingdom of heaven. For many, many times the voice said, Come, ye blessed of my Father. Yea, truly, our thoughts do enter heaven. You will find your treasures where your heart is, with God. In very truth, the man's treasure is the continual outpouring of God's thought, and I tell you that God is enriched by your cooperation. Let his thought be your thought, and say in the spirit of prayer, The Father and I are one. Do I seem to repeat platitudes? Read them again in your moment of sacred consecration, until the Christ within is the only voice, till only that is unreal and shadowy has passed away, even as the melted snow. I am glad to meet you on the spiritual plane. You need to thank God for this. In the very place where you are, if you could only see, you would find your own. I can voice your prayer, Lord, that I may receive my sight. You know the answer. Jesus Christ left every detail to you, and to the spiritually minded I say, His words are spirit, they are life. I would say to all, pray without ceasing, the life prayer. Live in God in the smallest detail. Do not think the results you see are the only results. There is not one good word that is fruitless. Believe this and have courage. The very desire to help, if real, unselfish, and pure, is immediate help. I have come along your path, and I would help you to know the golden, the priceless boon of right and holy living. Pause. Consider well the command until it comes from your own heart. Be ye holy, for I am holy. As you prayerfully express this, you will stand renewed, recreated, alive to the possibilities of God within. There are moments when we breathe the same air. You know them. Follow the spiritual understanding only. You now have victory over the less real through the Christ of God. The human race is God's eternal Son. I want you to reach the highest bliss possible to you on earth and in the flesh, that is, to hear the voice from heaven say, This is my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. Study the life of Jesus, and the veil will be removed more and more until the sublime sacrifice is revealed in all its greatness, the offering up of all to save all, and so to make the union of man with God complete. Do you not see the greatness of surrender? What you possess is of no value until it is given for the whole, for we are one in Him, and not separate from the universal life. It is the basis or ground of all. You are maimed and hurt because of sin and suffering in your brother man, and again must the Son of Man be crucified, until the great atonement with God takes place. Your work is to cooperate with God, existing only in and drawing only from the real, the spiritual, that you may be trees of healing, that you may outbreathe God. Even as in the natural body you breathe to live, so also you must take deep breaths from the spiritual center, that your whole being may be invigorated and revitalized. So much is in your own hands. I must remind you that regret or sadness hinders the forgiveness of God. God blots out the sins of the past by a fresh inflow of everlasting love. He only asks for your need of Him, that He may fill to overflowing with Himself. Watch and pray. Again watch. Lesson 23. The central life is love. See, you are theorizing. Never do this, but let the truth unfold gradually and without suggestion from outside. To make conclusions is to close the avenue and separate truth from itself. Nothing outside can ever help you or reveal anything until it finds its answer in yourself. What is space? You are learning of the physical plane, something of the rapidity of thought transference. Have you ever asked yourself what is between you and the mind you would influence? Positive thought knows nothing of distance. It cannot be broken or interfered with. There is nothing that can touch its current, for there really is no distance. The only necessity is the condition of receptivity. Simple good thought, sent out within any special direction, is caught up in the stream of good and helps all. Nothing is lost in the thought world. Space is a false and wrong idea belonging to separation. Let your hearts and minds rest undisturbed in the thought of the omnipresence of God, until even in the flesh you may come to realize that there is no space or distance. For you dwell in God, and there is absolutely nothing outside of God. The sense mind would cloud or hide the vision, But now you are in the secret place of the Most High. The tabernacle of God is with men. In all your afflictions he is made to suffer. Even as the rivers flow out and refresh the earth, gaining fresh life and power as they do their work of purification, even so bring into the outer life the unseen and spiritual substance. Use every opportunity to live that which you know, and let your lives flow out and bless every brother and sister. We long to see the divisions swept away by the ocean of love welling up in the human hearts and lives. Lesson 24. Omnipresence. All you have ever prayed, longed, and hoped for exists. So mighty is good. You are laying up treasures where there is no corruption, and all your good is your real wealth. You are making your future home and your future self by the way you live now. Rejoice that your names are written in heaven. We would fill you with more hope and joy. The souls that have perceived something of the illumination from the light of all men have been overwhelmed by the knowledge of the possibility of their own lives. Let us come very near in our understanding of omnipresence. God, who fills all space, knows nothing of past or future, but is eternally present. He is Alpha and Omega, the same yesterday and forever. The whole human race is meant to understand this. Let me explain. You sometimes wonder at what seems a loss of memory in us. We can recall anything of good that we wish. We learn the higher spiritual laws very quickly, and there is one that is best explained by the words, all time is the present. At once we cease to hurry, a great strain drops from us, all is ours, and we must take our own. To some who are here, this blessed truth is a great part of their heaven. When the eager souls who imagine they must do a certain amount in a given space of time discover this, the effect on them is to renew their energies, unfold wider prospects, and service becomes a rest. They truly begin to live. To the weary heart, the present is enough. To live on a spiritual plane is to live in reality, not spasmodically and in limits. Pause and think, how can time be divided? Day and night are explained to us as the inflow into and the outflow from the ocean of ever-present time. It is a wise law, the eternal present, the glorious now, a rest and a joy, a satisfaction too full to make us wish to look backward or forward, since we know that all is well. The sufficiency is the actual present. Think over this carefully, that your joy may be full. I am is the present tense for all time. This beneficent and merciful consciousness is the outcome of love. Just think a moment what the effect of entering into this realization would be on your earth, to draw the very next breath direct from God, with no past memory of wrongs or sins, filled only with the knowledge of the great love life, assimilating all the good into the present, living the blessed now. Think what it would mean. This is what Christ teaches you. To say, Lazarus, come forth, was to speak from the spiritual plane, realizing only the present life. Do you not see here the true secret of eternal youth, each stage of the unfoldment opening up a richer, riper youth? I am the Lord, I change not. Open your eyes and see this wondrous truth. You can be just as much of God as you are prepared to manifest. Even now you hold within yourself the accumulated good of all the ages. Christ, the Son of God, in the heart of humanity, reaches out to man until he awakes to divine consciousness. The 7 acts of Christ become actual to man instead of belonging to a past period. He experiences the birth, the awakening in the temple, the anointing, the temptation, the crucifixion, the resurrection, and the ascension. Christ must be in you. Nothing avails man from the outside. All is from within. Thank God for Jesus Christ, the unspeakable gift of God. The evolution of one soul exalts the whole race, that they may all be one. The understanding of time as a present fact would remove false ideas of inherited ill. In order to bring this higher law into action on a sense plane, the mind would at once cease to hold up the working out of ignorance and sin. Yet at the same time it would not alter the effect of past cause, seeing that only the good that man does has any real vitality. The sense of physical law makes both good and evil seem of equal power. Good must overcome evil by its own vitality. In truth, it is the real and only real. Realize the presence, As you read, you will understand. Peace to all. Lesson 25. Omnipresence, continued. So that you may the better understand ever-present time, I will make this statement, which is absolute truth. No time has passed since our last lesson. It was and is now. Man and not God made yesterday and will make tomorrow. This is to you the 7th month in the year 1907. It is the day on which Christ was born, and it is the only day that has ever been. Time cannot pass. There is no past. Man is a new creation by the power of the living Christ. You may not understand at once, but you will. Can you conceive of Christ aging? Have you never discovered the wonderful fact in the thought of the eternal youth of the Christ? As Christ is, even so are we, although it doth not yet appear to physical or mortal sense. You speak of us as the unreal. The truth is quite the reverse. We are on the only real plane, and your physical plane or plane of the senses is to us the unreal or the shadow. We may find vital laws exactly the opposite of those in operation on your plane. You are there to bring into manifestation spiritual laws, and Christ showed you this possibility. Water was not able to engulf spirit when spirit was absolutely controlling the physical atoms. There shall be no evil or accident befall thee, nor any sickness come nigh thy tabernacle or body. Your sicknesses, disasters, are the result of your descent, or rather of your wrong plane of being. The fall is a present and not a past fact. Man's real fall is that he is content with the shadow of good. He still eats of the tree of good and evil, and until the Christ fills the whole consciousness, man will ever be at war with himself, his brother, and his God. Man's understanding is clear, and light is breaking everywhere. You can read your Old Testament more intelligently, seeing in the symbols the inner and spiritual ideas of God. The waters of Marah were bitter. This was the result of the bitterness of the people. Man makes the quality of the land. The flow of waters increases or decreases according to laws hidden within yourself. You have made the very form of your island, England, by your thoughts and inner forces. Look to it that you obey the voice of spirit, for man was made to have dominion. The very changes of climate, all seeming disaster, are in accord with the life and being of man, and until man has come into and unto God, back to Eden, you will seem to wait for the new heaven and the new earth. For in that day they shall neither hurt nor destroy in all my holy mount. I have lifted the veil that you may see the need of giving the utmost for the highest. Blessed be God for Jesus Christ, the Son of Man and Son of God. In the story of the bitterness of Marah is a hidden truth. Ingratitude and murmuring brought bitterness. It is the same today. Your thoughts, if they are the suggestion of the senses, will still lead to bitterness and ashes. Learn the secret of praise and thanksgiving, the oil of water. Even in the wilderness experience the water shall be sweet. You shall partake of the milk and honey. The manna is at your very feet, enough for each day, for Christ is that heavenly manna. Feed on him in your heart by faith. The very gifts you seek are poured out into the rich abundance. Lift up your eyes and see. Just inasmuch as you yield to the divine innermost, as you live and bring forth the fruit of the Spirit, to that extent shall you have access to all that earth and heaven can yield. There is no want to the children of God. There are times on the physical plane when the way is hidden, and the heavens seem as brass. You can open the floodgates by steady thanksgiving and certain hope. If you only knew the closed doors of the senses, brought up against the wall of their own construction, a wall of doubt, fear, and falsity. A breath of the Spirit of God consumes them. You are greater than shadow, sense, or clay. Having your feet on the rock, they cannot slide. God is with you. Complete harmony will be realized, for God is working out his divine purpose in you. Lesson 26. The control of self and environment. The world around, or rather the visible world, is, as you know, full of wonderful possibilities, though yet imperfect, because unconquered, illusory, and shadowy, only because man has not reached the crown of being. As man evolves, the whole material plane is lifted into a higher condition. The seasons depend on God in man, and are according to the inner mind. The world is wild and lawless in some regions, so much so that man is subject to the nature of world spirit. Misused energy and uncontrolled force call for lord and master, as the trees of old asked for a king to reign over them. If you read this parable carefully, you will find much hidden truth. God made man to rule and to have all things subject to him. The world is gradually learning some of these higher mysteries. If you had a tree or plant under your control, in time it would respond and assume its highest possible form on condition you became at one with its hidden laws, and you are meant to become this. I merely give you this simple truth to lead you higher. The physical world is governed by its own forces and passions, and not by the spiritual, the only real. For the teaching of this very lesson, Jesus stilled the storm with the word peace. Since he had control over his own natural and physical self, and afterwards used the God-given right of dominion. You are the channels through which a divine will and energy manifests its one self. To effect this, you must become selfless and at one, for the Lord thy God is one Lord and not many. There are spiritual treasures hidden in your earth awaiting your appropriation. These wonders and glories are unrevealed to the physical or fallen man. Cain stands as a symbol for the spiritually blind. He speaks the truth when he said, "My punishment is greater than I can bear." Christ your Redeemer is leading you back to your own. You are alive to the truth of being, the omnipotence of God and man. You are now learning that the natural and sense body can have no control, but should manifest wholeness and love. There is a great and glorious work to be done on your planet, the Christ work of healing, and this is possible to all who have spiritual control. We urge you to do your part. God never fails, and victory is yours. You will know exactly how to act as the need arises. Take no thought, only in all things obey the Spirit, and never for a moment allow the senses to suggest failure, fear, or doubt. On all occasions, speak to the senses the word of power, "Get thee behind me, Satan." God waits to pour himself out. I say you can prove him. He never fails or makes a mistake. Do you not see what a beautiful work awaits you? You receive by giving. The more you bless, the greater the power of blessing. Love is the greatest of all healers and finds its own way. Lesson 27. The Death of Mortal Man, Renunciation. Oh, the inexpressible joy of vision! There is nothing higher or more satisfying. You shall know how to speak and heal in proportion as you live up to the highest within you. Renunciation implies a complete and deliberate stand for truth, abandoning all else. It is a step which, once taken, opens up before you the Christ existence. It is not, as supposed, the giving up of wealth, position, and friends to become poor and desolate. It is rather withdrawal from submission and obedience to the prince of this world, the creation of mortal sense, that you may deliberately follow the Christ in every thought, renouncing all other rights over you. Thus renunciation becomes acquisition. You lay down in order to take up, but with a great difference. Hitherto life has seemed a vast arena, where some are winners and some losers, where all who can fight may win, where the battle is to the strong. In this great game of life, man gives all to win all, that he may become greater than all. For him there is nothing beyond. This plane is of the senses. It is the plane of death and finality. The forces of the sense plane control him, and that which has happened to him is worse than death. It is the loss of individuality. The spiritual man has failed to develop in that form and must seek another. Thus the mortal has not become immortalized and is known no more. This is true, and we tell it in order that you may understand the real meaning of the death of the sinner. The preservation of your individuality depends upon yourself, that you become the creation of God. A perfect man, a perfect woman, depends on your coming definitely to the place of renunciation, which is for you the beginning of life. I am come, that you may have life, says Christ, and not death. You possess nothing of the sense world. You are a spiritual being, sent out from God to do his work and will. The material plane is your place of action, and your work commences with the dawning consciousness of God. Your scriptures are full of this teaching. Jesus has gone every step of the way for your guidance. There are pathfinders in your midst today. Follow me, said Christ, and the spiritual and real man renounces all to follow the King. How we love your earth! How we long to lift you into true life, but the great and eternal law stands forever. No man can walk along this path till he has made the renunciation of his own will. By this choice man proves to man his right to divinity. To enter into truth he renounces all that the world can give. You are on the spiritual plane to bring the kingdom of heaven into unity with earth, that may we all be one. Thus you see how important it is to live every moment in the only real. We hope to teach you much as you enter in. You must be full of that confidence which is the offspring of truth. At present, you are to conquer the fleshy body, ruling in love, but always ruling. There is a beautiful work before you. Jesus said, "The prince of this world cometh, and hath nothing in me." These were words of life and power. These may be your words too, so that nothing can touch you, hidden in God, doing His work and willing His will. You may reach the place where you no longer bear two voices, but one only, and that of the living Christ.